Okay, and I am live. This is my first time going live on YouTube. So as my channel continues to grow, I will continue to go live. And let's see, maybe somebody will pop on. Maybe somebody will leave a comment, have some questions. So we'll see how this goes. But I am so excited for the opportunity. My name is Kai Marie, and I'm here to talk to you about healing. So a little bit of background about me. I recently started my own passion project called Kai Marie, in which I offer life coaching, yoga therapy, and I also host the Healing Element podcast. Yay! And so you're actually on the Healing Element podcast YouTube channel. So thank you to those who have subscribed and supported, and make sure you spread the word. Tell others about the podcast and the information that is provided by my guests that come on and talk about how you can begin to heal from trauma. And our goal is to begin to heal so that way we can begin to break the cycle of pain. Okay, so that's extremely important. So thank you for joining me today. That's it for the intro. Now I want to dive into today's topic. So this topic about experiencing freedom through your healing, I wanted to talk a little bit about that because some of the posts that I've made on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, my Instagram username is Kai Marie _ the healing element. So make sure you go there. And also on Facebook. A lot of what I have posted about is how healing can be challenging, right? There's challenging experiences. And I also wanted to kind of bring to you that there's also a beauty in it. And so I'm not going to take too much time, but I wanted to really press this upon you that when you begin to go on your healing journey and you begin to really start to unlock some of these repressed memories that you may have of childhood, and you really start to think about what you experienced and no longer just allowing yourself to kind of sweep it under the rug and not really bring any awareness to what you've gone through and just kind of put it in this box in your head, in your heart, that, that's something that happened in the past. It doesn't affect me now. But many times, oftentimes than not, when you have experienced trauma and you haven't dealt with it, it is popping up in your life. Even if you think that it isn't, it is. In some form or fashion, it is. And it's been my experience that through beginning to work through things that happened in my childhood and then just into adulthood, as I begin to work through those things, I begin to see, oh, wow, I see how this unresolved pain, unresolved trauma was showing up in my life. Now, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about friendships. I'm talking about work relationships, just how I showed up in the world. That was all the underlying factor of how I was showing up had to do with my childhood experiences and then into adulthood. And so once I started going into beginning my healing journey, then I began to realize like certain patterns of behavior. Okay, so I'm not going to get too much into patterns of behavior today. I think that I will do that in an upcoming, those have joined. So I will probably do that in an upcoming live session, because I think this is something that I really would like to do. Again, this is about building community and really creating a safe space for people to speak freely so they can either begin their healing journey or so that they can continue it. Okay, so today's topic is about this freedom thing. So I said freedom through your healing. How does that happen? And what I want to share with you is once you start to understand that many of the decisions and actions and relationships, again, how you showed up in the world is based on what you went through in childhood into adulthood, then you begin to realize, okay, so there's a reason behind my madness, right? There's a method to my madness. There's a reason why maybe I continue to find myself in the same type of friendships, romantic relationships, or maybe why I didn't cultivate certain type of relationships with family. So once you begin to realize that for yourself, then when you start to reflect on your relationship that you had with maybe aunts, uncles, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, then you begin to realize, okay, so how they treated others, including me, it was probably based on unresolved pain, unresolved trauma that they had, that they probably didn't even know they had. Because let's be honest, if you've grown up in a family, in a community that dysfunction is the norm, you're not going to know anything different. You're not going to say, well, so-and-so shouldn't be talking to me that way. You're going to say, well, they all talk to us crazy, right? They all yell and scream, like that's just normal. Okay, so but when you begin to go on your path and you begin to correct behaviors that you have that are maybe self-sabotaging behaviors, then you begin to realize, okay, yeah, even though I was doing that and I thought it was normal, it's actually not a normal type of behavior because it's actually not helping me, right? It's not benefiting, it's not improving my quality of life. So when you begin to go on that journey, a lot of what we carry with us into adulthood is from, of course, childhood. So we think that the experiences that we had with mom, with dad, or our guardians and other family around us, we internalize a lot of what we felt and went through, and we blame ourselves, either consciously or subconsciously. And what has been my experience, and science shows this, is that when you begin to work on yourself and do your healing work, you begin to look at other people differently. And this doesn't excuse how you may have been treated, but it does say, okay, so this never had anything to do with me. Like, how many of you have read or listened to a recording or have some familiarity with the 4 agreements? And one of the 4 agreements, right, don't take things personal. And the reason why is because everyone has created a sense of reality for themselves in order for them to exist and live and move in society. And that's the same thing we have done. We have created our own sense of reality. We've constructed it to allow us to survive and move in the world. And so everybody else is doing the same thing. So the reason why you can't take the behaviors of others personally is because they're moving and making these decisions and they're treating you a certain way as a way for them to exist. So when you begin to go on your healing journey and you begin to understand that and you begin to see that people are people and everybody's coming with their own issues, right? Then you're like, okay, so this doesn't have anything to do with me. And when you start to see that in your current relationships, you can then see that in your relationships from your childhood. And it's not excusing at all. I always say this, is never excusing the behavior or how you were treated, but it takes that weight off of, oh, wow, like this was my fault. This was my doing. I brought this on myself. So I just wanted to share with you, as you continue to grow and you continue to heal, all of that weight, that burden that you carry, again, it could be consciously or subconsciously that you're carrying, that it was never about you. It was about somebody else's path, somebody else's trauma, somebody else's pain that they did not work on to heal, to resolve, and that has now affected you. Okay, and again, this is all talking about childhood. So I just encourage you to really think about that, maybe meditate on it so that you can begin to release maybe whatever it is you may be carrying. Sorry about that sound. Anytime there's an alert, it makes a sound, and I don't know how to turn this off. Next time, I'll figure it out. But anyways, so once you begin to realize that, okay, this is not about me, this is about their issues. If you had feelings of maybe you didn't have your parents around, maybe if you were raised in foster care, or maybe you were physically or sexually abused or something, and you carried something within you that something was wrong with you, because of you brought this on yourself. And I just impress upon you as you begin to heal and go through your journey that you realize that no, it was never about you, that you are a beautiful being, you are a beautiful person, you are worthy, you are valuable. And what happens is, unfortunately, we are existing in a very sick society. And because of that, we have many people that are walking around in pain, in trauma, and they don't even realize it. And so what happens when you're not working through that, it's very easy to then all of that hurt, pain, and all that stuff that you're going through, you just start to inflict it on other people, and there the cycle continues. So as you go on your path, meditate, please, on this today. that through your journey, through your healing, as you begin to realize people are people, it was never about you. It was about their own stuff that they were going through that they didn't work through. And allow that, hopefully, my words really touch you and resonate, that you'll realize that, through that you can see that there was never, this was never about something that you brought on yourself, but this is about somebody else's pain and trauma. Again, not excusing their behavior at all, but just so you know that it didn't have anything to do with you. So hopefully that also makes you feel, and it did for me, that I had a clean slate, because I was like, okay, so, this was their own issues. I have my own clean slate, and I have a life that I can live for myself. And I no longer have to carry the guilt and shame that I brought anything on myself. And that can really show up in your relationships, right? You can maybe you have built walls up in romantic relationships and not letting anyone in because of things that happened from your childhood. And so that's one thing. Actually, we're going to be talking about this in an upcoming episode on the Healing Element podcast that drops on Wednesday. I'll be talking to a therapist, Martina Myers-Galloway, and she's going to be talking about how childhood trauma can impact your romantic relationships. And she'll be providing some techniques and tips that you can use to begin to heal so you can cultivate healthy relationships. So basically, my message that I just wanted to quickly leave with you today is that through your healing journey, as you begin to learn more about you, you begin to learn about the healing process, and that hurt people really do hurt people. Like, that's just not a phrase. I think we kind of just throw that out there, but really not pay attention to it. But it is absolutely true. Hurt people hurt people. When you begin to realize that, it puts everything into perspective, and it allows you to exist in a space where you're no longer carrying the guilt and shame of others. So I hope that this message resonated with you. Please be sure to leave a comment, like, share, but I really would like to know your thoughts. And if you would like me to cover any other topics on a live session, please let me know. Wishing you love and light. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And remember, you are worthy, you are valuable, and you are here for a purpose. Take care.